All right, YouTube. This is an interesting story. That's a true story, obviously. About some dates I went on with a girl that used to be homeless. So, I've been going on a lot of random dates that are from online dating, right? So, Tinder, Facebook dating, or OkCupid is typically what I use. So, because I'm single now, I had a relationship. First of all, for a background, I had a relationship from July to September. And before that, I had a relationship in 2019 that ended um, February 2019, but it lasted about 2 years. So, what I did in between those two relationships and also after my recent relationship is trying to get done a lot of interesting kind of experiences, taking advantage of this time that I am single. Because I don't know if the next relationship I'll have will be my last relationship, in the sense that it may be a permanent one that'll lead to marriage, blah, 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 blah. You know? So, anyways, one experience I wanted to have was or that came up, was this girl that I was talking to on Facebook dating happened to be homeless at different points. So I thought it would be an interesting experience to be able to go on a date with someone who happened to be homeless at a different part of their life. So this girl is 20. She turned 20 in December. I'm 24. So this girl is from a town that's like, or she now currently lives in a town that's 45 minutes northwest of me. And I live about 20 minutes outside of Boston, 20 minutes west of Boston. So this girl, I was talking to her starting, I think, November, but I didn't meet her until January. And it was interesting. So first of all, when we were talking, she would get quite angry at different points if I didn't answer too quick. Um, or she would get really angry about if considering the fact that I didn't plan a plan with her sooner than later, and also in ways that were exactly what she wanted. So we eventually ended up finally meeting in January, but during most of that first point though of me talking to her, she was homeless. She was homeless, um, and then she was sent to a psychiatric hospital because she felt suicidal. And then her parents, not her real biological parents, but the ones who adopted her, or not adopted her, I forget what it's called. The ones who are caretakers for her. Um, I don't know why I'm blanking out right now on what that's called, but they took her in after that hospitalization because they felt bad. Also, considering her birthday was coming up like a week after she got hospitalized. So, anyways, we finally decided to meet when she, towards the beginning of January, right? So, she lived in different places throughout her life within Massachusetts. And I found out, like, when we were hanging out, that she is owned by the state. So the benefit for that is she can get she used to be able to get like certain free or cheap housing. I forget what it was. I think cheap. That's what it is, discount. And but it would be like special kind of housing that she would have to apply for and this and that. Uh and also she gets her college paid. Um, so I found out, which I could tell, I'm really good at sensing what sort of disorders people could have. And I could sense that she had borderline personality disorder, and I guessed it correctly. And no offense to people with borderline personality disorder, but they can be quite a handful. Uh, I believe they could be significantly more of a handful than bipolar people. Bipolar people, there's a wide range. There's people that have bipolar that could have their moments that they're more intense or less intense. Then there's ones that can be like harmless in almost every regard and peaceful, like peaceful in the sense they won't harm you in any way, and quite functional people. It's like it's a wide spectrum, kind of like autism, versus borderline personality disorder. For what I've experienced of every borderline personality disorder person I've met, they've been quite a handful in a lot of ways. But I'm able to connect with them quite well, in a lot of regards. Um, and so what happened was I picked her up. She doesn't drive. She doesn't have a car. I picked her up, and we were gonna go to Applebee's, a town away from her. So I haven't been to Applebee's for years because all the Applebee's around me have closed. So I thought it was pretty neat. At the time, she was working at a different Applebee's that was in her town. That's why we didn't go in the one that is at her town. So we went to Applebee's. We ate there. It was good. We got a discount because she is an employee at that other Applebee's. Um, and I was the one who paid because I was doing that for a birthday gift, uh, since she was a birthday girl about a month before. And yeah, it was a good time. We connected well and everything. Nice girl. And another interesting coincidence is I found out that she actually was friends with my ex's younger sister, my recent ex's younger sister, because they both happen to go to the same vocational or charter school. I always get them mixed up. Not mixed up, but me and like in this situation, I forget which one my ex and ex's little sister went to, if it was a vocational or charter school. I think it might have been charter school. But yeah, so that was a very interesting connection. Um, and also, uh, yeah, so after we decided to fuck when we were in the car, right? So we fucked in my car, in that parking lot, but it was like a little further. It was like a giant plaza kind of parking lot with connected to Home Depot, et cetera, et cetera. And it was late at night at that point. And yeah, so we decided to do that. I had condoms. I had them just in case on me. I didn't think we would remotely get that far. I didn't think that was gonna happen, but it happened, and it was great. But yeah, so that was that first date. It was good. It was chill. And then on our way back, like when I was gonna drop her off, she was singing a little bit along to the music that she was playing. Like she was playing her Spotify playlist of EDM music, and whenever I hear people sing along to music or whatever, it is not good or it's just average or it's nothing special. You know what I mean? But this girl, it was incredible. So I said something like, "Wow, do you know how to sing or this?" Yeah, we got into that whole topic of music, and I showed her some of my music. She liked it. Uh, so it was neat. So someday we're gonna make a song together, and I look forward to that. But yeah, she's a cool, chill, neat girl. So I only hung out with her one other time after, which was and the reason why I haven't hung out with her much is because I've been distracted with a lot of different stuff that I've been doing, a lot of stuff I've been working on, hanging out with like close friends or whatever, and dealing with other issues that happen to like occur. So I had to like try to figure out how to resolve it or whatever or get away from it. So And also considering like this girl lives 45 minutes or so away from me, so it's just like kind of a force. And also she can be like a handful in the sense of like the mood changes are intense and stuff like that. So, anyways, the next time we hung out was we were gonna go to a farm that she was gonna see. So she bought two horses not too long ago. So she was gonna rent some space on a farm. So the guy who owns that farm will take care of the horses a little for the most part, but she'll here and there come help out, take care of her horses, and then also his horses. So um, I thought this farm was going to be like a few towns or so away from her. No, it ended up being quite far. It ended up being like 50-minute to an hour drive. It was in New Hampshire, but a part of New Hampshire which is further away than I thought it would have been. So, uh, but this actually occurred about a day or two after I cut off a whole friend group, and that's a whole other story. And that was pretty intense stuff. But so it was nice that I was going on this whole random adventure with this girl. So we went so I picked her up and then we headed to that part of New Hampshire. And first of all, something that was quite disgusting. I don't know if any of you have experienced this in the past, but she smelled like real stanky pussy. It was horrible. I didn't want to like roll down the window because it would look suspicious and or offensive, and also because it would be like obvious considering it's like kind of winter at that time. This was in February. So it would just look weird or whatever. So yeah, we went to we went to go to New Hampshire, and at the beginning it was horrible, but I think she realized how she didn't smell good at all. And she was like, "Oh, is it okay if I open the window for a little?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, that's fine." But I was thinking in my head, "Thank God." And so she did that for about like 15 minutes or so. And then for the most part, it ended up being fine for the rest of the time. Slash, I got adjusted. But uh, so it was a chill vibe. We went there, but on our way there, we saw a car on the other side of the highway towards the beginning when we arrived in New Hampshire. We saw a truck. I mean, on the other side, all the front of it, like the front half, was all like melted. Turns out I found out in the news later on that it was a trash truck that caught on fire, and the driver, was thankfully able to safely exit the vehicle. But it was intense because it was the most firefighters, ambulances, police, etc., that I've ever seen in a highway sort of situation. We saw the aftermath of it though, where it wasn't on fire, but it was like melted, a lot of it. So it was very interesting sight. And at first, when we first saw it, we thought the guy was like dead in the front passenger seat, but thankfully that wasn't the case. He's fine. But anyways, that was a weird sight. So then we ended up making it to a gas station where I had to take a piss badly. And yeah, she was just like telling me the story of like that's where she would stand outside with like a cardboard sign and like beg for money and whatever. That was one of her main spots uh, during one point in time where she was homeless. She was homeless in different areas, but that was the time when she was homeless in New Hampshire. So, yeah, it was interesting hearing that story and perspective. We ended up um, making it to the farm in New Hampshire. It was like the middle of nowhere in that part of New Hampshire. And this guy, he has lung cancer. Poor guy. He looked like he was in his early 60s, something like that. Maybe late 50s, but I think more likely early 60s. He's originally from Louisiana, so he had that southern accent, and he used to race horses. And this guy is quite notable within the horse racing industry. Like he knew some of the top like horse racers or whatever, and all that. It was interesting stories to hear. So like we had a good conversation with him, and like we got to see his neat horses that used to be race horses, and and they're worth a lot of money. And yeah, so he said he's just been making money off of like renting out land like that. And he's just been like living off that and past money he's made, and is just gonna do it till he dies, you know. Poor guy has lung cancer though. God bless him. And so what happened was, yeah, we did that, and she got a good price because it's like he's a nice, generous guy, and also because it's like in New Hampshire things can cost cheaper. Because if she were to get it somewhere closer to her in Massachusetts, it would cost a lot. So she wanted the cheapest available price. So, anyways, we ended up leaving eventually. We were there for a couple hours, uh, and then we headed to her house. I was going to drop her off, but on the way there, she decided to talk to a guy on speakerphone that's from Wyoming. I think he's originally from California, from what I understood, but he has like that middle of nowhere accent, you know? Uh, so yeah, it was an interesting experience. What happened in regards to the phone call? He, I think, is in his late 20s, something like that, and was talking about his whole experience in Wyoming on how stuff there is so cheap, the rent is so cheap, the gas, how to get your license is a lot easier there than like states such as Massachusetts or whatever. Uh, Job opportunities uh, in Wyoming is best in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is the capital of Wyoming, which is where he's at. Um, but he said that Denver, Colorado is literally only an hour away. And I did look that up after, and that is true. Like I looked up, I did all the research after. Everything he was saying was true. Uh, so like Denver, Colorado obviously has a lot more opportunities. And an hour away is not bad at all. So um yeah, like what this girl with me was saying was, "Oh yeah, come on, we need to do this. Like, come on, like please move with me over to Wyoming, blah blah blah." Cuz like the guy from Wyoming was saying like he would show us around, he would he let us know all the ropes, you know what I mean? The ropes around the lifestyle, like what to do, and like show us around, and like all that kind of stuff. All that advice about all that. And like rent there, like for like an apartment that would cost here in Massachusetts like 1,200, which is like the cheapest you can get, you know what I mean? Uh Over there you can get that kind of apartment for like $400 a month. So that would mean if it was just her and I in one apartment, it would be $200 a month. But obviously, the pay is going to be less over there compared to here. But he was saying that if you have a degree, even if it's an associate's degree over there, you're automatically a whole level up compared to the other people there. He was saying how if you're coming from the West Coast or the East Coast, you have a lot higher chances in getting jobs and everything because you're automatically a lot more fast paced than those people there in Wyoming and those in some of those surrounding states, you know? Uh, which when I was thinking about it, it's true. And then also, so this girl with me, she has an associate's. I have a bachelor's degree, and yeah, so just in those scenarios, and also considering we're from the East Coast, it's all real good benefits, right? And so at first, when she said it, like that first immediate moment, like, "Oh yeah, we should move, we should go there, blah blah, just to see how it is, blah blah blah," I was thinking it was ridiculous in a lot of ways. Like, but then I was thinking to myself, that would actually be quite an interesting experience. It's only an hour away from Denver. Uh, it's like it would be like I've never lived outside of Massachusetts, so I've traveled outside of country. I've traveled in different parts of the U.S., but I never lived outside of Massachusetts. So that would be a very unique, interesting experience. And I was saying to her, yeah, like we could even do that, and we could even try it for a few months, half a year, or year longer, or whatever, just to see how it is. Like, when are we ever gonna have this kind of life experience? And whenever you hear about young professionals or young people nowadays in the US, they typically move to like San Francisco, LA, New York City, Miami, Boston, any sort of big stereotypical city, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, you know what I mean? Just any sort of stereotypical situation. You don't hear about people moving to Wyoming, you know? Uh, and so it would just be a very unique, interesting situation. But then over time, I started to think about it more and like think about, is it really worth it? Blah blah, this that, and also considering this girl is quite impulsive. This could be just all a whole impulsive kind of uh decision making she's making, and she won't follow through with it, and or she'll follow through with it, then suddenly want to do something else, or maybe get angry at me instantly when we move there or whatever, you know what I mean? It just does not seem like a viable, stable situation at all. If it was with a person who was, no offense to her, remotely stable, then it would be more something to think about. But considering that, not really. And also at the moment, one of my jobs is a stable, good situation. It's only part time, but I would like to keep it for quite a while, considering it got me into my field. I'm into graphic design, video production, and photography, and I do all that kind of stuff within my job. And because I have my foot in the door and I graduated college not too long ago, I want to stick with this job for a while so then it sticks on my resume well. And then also, I did the research if there's any graphic design, video production, or photography jobs in Cheyenne, Wyoming, or around there. There is literally only, or no, there's zero in graphic design and video production. And I looked at social media too. Zero. And then for photography, there were a few, like, there were like, I think 10, 5 to 15, something like that, of freelance photography jobs. But it wasn't like one time freelance, but it would be like freelance, like every weekend, something like that. It just did not seem like a stable, good situation, though. But Denver is only an hour away. I didn't really. I looked into that, and there are a decent amount of opportunities in graphic design and video production there, so that wouldn't be bad. But then that made me think like I might as well move to Denver, so or some other part of Colorado instead of traveling literally an hour away. But then again, an hour isn't bad, and the rent and everything else in Wyoming is so cheap, and it would be quite peaceful there. But overall, I just thought it was a thing. I'm just gonna brush off and just not bother doing that. Uh, Maybe if I happen to be a YouTuber, well, meaning like if I happen to be some sort of successful online presence where I'm able to move kind of wherever I want, I would love to move there for a little while to see how it is. But another part that I realized that it wouldn't be a stable situation for the future to do that is when I was about to drop her off, I wanted a goodbye kiss, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not giving you a goodbye kiss unless you date me, like unless you're my boyfriend, like unless we become boyfriend and girlfriend right now." And I thought she was joking, but I probably shouldn't have assumed she was joking, considering she has borderline personality disorder. And it turned out she was not joking. So I was like, "Oh, come on, give me a kiss." And she was like, "No, only if you're my boyfriend now. Are you my boyfriend?" And I was like, "Oh no, like I'm not ready for a relationship, blah 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 blah. We only know each other for a little." And then she's like, "Only if you're my boyfriend." And yeah, so she ended up leaving without a kiss, and it was an awkward goodbye because she expected I was gonna become her boyfriend then and there. Uh, and I've dealt with crazy girls before where they would put me in a situation and like kind of forcibly, or like checkmating me, or persuading me into getting in a relationship with them, even though I would know them literally for 2 weeks or less in person. So, yeah, that was literally the second time of me ever knowing her in person. So it was quite strange how she did that. And then also later that night, she was like, "I need to move out of my house. I can't stand uh my like guardians or whatever. And um do you have like $300 you can lend me? I can pay you back tomorrow, blah 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 blah." She was going to impulsively go on a train from Worcester all the way to Denver, Colorado, I believe, and that the guy she was talking to earlier on the phone would pick her up from there. But then she ended up realizing and thought more clearly that she can't afford that, and that she should do the plan she was going to do is save up money for the next few months or so, and then maybe go do that plan of moving to Cheyenne. So she ended up the next day taking a step back and doing that instead of impulsively moving over there. So now she's just been working these days, saving up or whatever, uh, and that's that. But that was a very interesting situation, and yeah, so I wanted to share that with you. This is some girl that used to be homeless, and has had an interesting life and continues to, in regards to her impulsivity and everything. So she's cool. She's nice. Uh, just a little too impulsive, you know. But thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Check out my other stories. I've had a lot of interesting stuff happen in my life. All right. Bye bye.